Thank you for staying with us. You're still watching The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. It's time to take the global stories that has made it to the front pages of our national dailies. And joining us this morning is Jide Johnson, is a public affairs analyst. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be with you. Good morning to all viewers all over the world. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And also would like to say a very, very big happy birthday to you. So I understand it was your birthday last Saturday. And we want to say we wish you all of the best. May this be your best year yet, and may God grant you all of your heart desires. Thank you for being a part of Plus TV. Thank you for always showing up when we ask you to. And on this special day, I pray that Allah will give you everything that you've ever wanted and needed. Happy birthday, Jide Johnson.
Thank you very much. Thank you. You are cutting onions around me. Thank you. Extend my appreciation to the entire management staff of Plus TV, and particularly the crew of the morning program. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. All right, so let's dive into the papers this morning, and we'll begin with the Business NG. Now, this is quite a sad one because we're talking huge amounts of money with no work being done. And the Business NG leads with 2.4 billion naira paid for 15 federal government projects, no work done according to a budget. In fact, there's some riders here that says 401 million naira to mainstream contractors for road rehabilitation in Nasarawa. 153 million naira to iCent Lights Limited for fencing and landscaping in Delta, and 88 million naira to A3 Interbiz Link for a health center in Osun State, etc. So, of course, this is Nasarawa. We're talking up north. We're talking Delta, which is the south, and Osun State. So we're seeing across different zones. Monies are being budgeted, or monies are even being paid for in this case, and 15 federal government projects, but nothing is done. And there is no one even pursuing these people that why haven't you completed the project or anything at all. In fact, it may seem as though this is just a way of siphoning money, and these are taxpayers' funds. People are paying their taxes, but then the construction of certain things that are to be done are not being done. I want to get your take on this. The fact that 2.4 billion naira is not a small amount of money. It's huge. But if BudgiT is bringing this out, why is the federal government not trying their best to ensure that when projects are being awarded, that it gets to completion, whereby people are not just, running away with the funds?
I want to start on a historical note. You remember when we had the then Elder State of Nigeria, General Gowon, said the problem of Nigeria is not money, but how to spend the money that we have. And it seems that is what has characterized public project financing in Nigeria. The problem is not lack of resources, but it's adequate use of these resources that we have, using it judiciously and appropriating money effectively. So it's not a problem of appropriation, it's just a problem of execution. I recall the last training I did for Lagos State House of Assembly in 2014, before the former speaker that was removed stopped us from training the journalist covering the Lagos State House of Assembly, because we did it from 2007 to 2014. It was on budget monitoring, budget tracking. That was, you see, one, journalists have a role to play. Two, the critical people that you ensure compliance with whatever is budgeted for is the legislature. They have the oversight function. They are the ones that have the power over the purse, and they are the ones that should do the oversight to see whether the money that has been appropriated is spent judiciously. So invariably, those that are meant to hold government accountable are not paying attention to it. The entire focus is always on when the budget is brought for deliberation, and as we see too much focus on it. And at the end of the day, once this money is appropriated, we don't go back to look at it. Okay, you appropriated so amount of money for so project. To what level have you what amount of money have you disbursed? To what percentage of the project completed compared to the money that was disbursed? So it's important for budget monitoring, budget tracking, and the rest of it to be part and parcel of the focus of what the media does, and at the same time for us to hold the legislature to put their foot on fire letting them know that they have an oversight function to ensure that money that has been appropriated are spent judiciously. There's no doubt a lot of at the end of the year, what do we get when it comes to budget compliance? 40%, 60%. We have never gotten 60% compliance with the budget in my little knowledge since the beginning of this Fourth Republic experimentation. It's so bad that resources will be allocated, and then at the end of the day, those money will go into private coffers, and then money will be reappropriated again. So it's used as a drain swamp.
So
what they used to call in the past legally fund project.
So how do we curb this level of corruption? Because these are monies that are supposed to be used for these projects that would in turn, develop that particular state or community and benefit the lives of the people living there, the residents there. But if it's
who has the clean copy of the budget of Lagos State? Who has the clean copy of the budget of Nigeria? I'm from Lagos State. One of the most close-guarded secret budget that you can never see is the budget of Lagos State. So you don't know. That's even talking from the state that has the highest percentage of media presence, from the state that you think is the largest, is the third largest economy in Africa. And if you don't have that level of transparency, what would you be talking about? Nasarawa State, which you read out or you be talking about Delta State, or you be talking about all of that state. So which budget did we even run last year? In Nigeria, simultaneously, we ran four budgets. So which one are you going to track? Which one are you going to monitor? Which one are you going to ensure that there is compliance? So the bottom line is the process starts from debating the appropriation bill for the year and making it. I think we should make a demand that the National Assembly should have a website in which that any bill that is presented, particularly the appropriation bill, should be posted on the website that every Nigerian can see it. Lagos State National Assembly should have a website that the budget for Lagos State will be posted on the website, and everybody will see what will happen. You saw what happened. It's not peculiar to Nigerian alone. It's a global thing. Those in authority who want to conceal some certainty from some certain people, except it does not meet their vested interest. That's why they begin to reveal to. You saw what happened in the United States of America, where $50 million was budgeted for condom in Gaza. And I can tell you, if you throw too much scrutiny to our own budget, you'll be shocked at some of the provisions that were made in those budget areas that funds are allocated to that are not necessary. As far as people are concerned, as far as those that made those appropriations are concerned, they just have those item heads in the budget. The intention was not to do that project. The intention was to make sure that money goes to either some certain private individual or some elements within the executive or within the executive and the legislature, or the money is earmarked for the next election. So that's my thinking. I might be wrong, but I'm entitled to my opinion.
No, but that's even another way to. Yeah, that's even another way to look at it. And I think the problem we have is not just. Fine, corruption is a big deal, but corruption can only thrive when there is lack of transparency and accountability. And because this, governments, they're not as transparent to say, okay, we want to be able to publish this so that everybody sees what we're doing. Everybody knows what the budget is. Everybody knows which projects we're working on. There is no level of transparency. And then even being accountable for their actions, everything is just being swept under the carpet. So I don't know. I just think we definitely have a lot of work.
And then, to add salt to the injury, people will use public fund. They will use public fund appropriated, and they will use it as if it's their personal money, saying that they are doing palliatives, and with chip on their shoulder, that they are doing palliative for their constituency, not knowing that it's money that is meant for everybody, that is allocated through the budget that they have access to. And then they will be doing as if, okay, they've done something remarkable to the citizenry. Whereas the entire money should go for everybody and not for themselves alone.
Meanwhile, that money was your right. That money was for you. But then you have to hail them, Baba, because, of course, you feel like they've done something. Anyways, let's move over to another story that says analysts forecast GDP to hit 3.3% in 2025 and inflation at 26%. So I know inflation is over 30% at the moment, but there are certain analysts that are very optimistic that we might just see inflation at 26%. In fact, in terms of the exchange rate, PwC's report forecast a stabilization in 2025. So I don't know what's going to happen, but are you optimistic just like these people?
Well, everybody should be an incorrigible optimist, but um, there, there's optimism and there's reality. And it's only a fool that lives in the realm of optimism without situating his optimism with reality. The reality on ground is that what are the measures that have been put in place to reduce inflation? What are the measures that we have put in place to address that? Now, in the taxation, if you impose tariff and the rest of it on your citizenry, you see what other countries want to do. They are imposing tariffs on goods coming into their country, not imposing tariffs on goods within their country. So if taxation, any form of taxation, whether in form of a direct taxation or indirect taxation in form of tariff, does not grow the economy. And it seems that too much regulation does not grow the economy. And it seems that this administration is much more concerned about regulation other than deregulation. This administration is much more interested in revenue generation other than by growing the economy and ensuring that there's more disposable income that people can save and people can have access to credit through savings that people have deposited in the bank, and they can grow the economy. So as far as I'm concerned, those that are looking at it I hope they can share their data and we can all see what they are seeing, so that those of us that are not seeing it can see what they are seeing. What investment have we made in agriculture concerning reducing? Look, the inflation is as a result of cost of living. No doubt about that. If you reduce the cost of living, I can assure you that that no doubt the GDP will grow, and all of those indicators they are pointing out. But in what we do, are we food sufficient? Where are we getting the food supply that is needed to feed this part? Food is almost unaffordable. Can a 2-year-old spend 1,000 naira and be fed up, as in fed up and not fed up? Yeah, it actually says you can't fed up the 2-year-old with 1,000 naira, because the 2-year-old will become fed up with whatever you have given to him or her. So that's just the reality. But I hope you share the data, and then we share that. Every one of us want Nigerian to progress. Every one of us want Nigerian to be good. Every one of us want the inflation to drop drastically. We want that GDP, we want the economy to grow. But if your GDP grows and it does not translate to the standard of living in the lives of your people, it does not translate to reducing the cost of living, then what's the essence of economic growth that has no meaningful impact on the citizenry? It's just economic growth for the sake of the ego of those in charge of the economy.
Yeah, it's just on paper, but it's not probably reflecting in the daily lives. I mean, like you said, everybody wants Nigeria to be better. Everybody wants the standard of living to be better, because right now we're even talking about telecoms tariff hike, whereby people have to spend more money at the moment when it comes to calls and data. So if the inflation is going to significantly reduce, whatever they need to do, they should do that. But let us in on the plans, on the blueprint. Let's see what's going on. Let's just have that level of transparency. Okay, let's move over to The Punch. The Punch leads with PDP crisis. Stakeholders demand Wike Bauchi governor truce as governors meet today. The writer here says Fubara's camp wants Damagun kicked out as chairman. Opposition governors converge on Asaba. So PDP is supposed to be, at least we would expect one of the strongest opposition party in Nigeria, because currently Nigeria is being ruled by the APC. And I remember when PDP was the ruling party, APC held their ground as, a very strong opposition party. And that was the reason why they could now take over. But it may seem as though PDP is just in shambles. There's so many things that are happening, so many things going on. Their house is not in order. But what's your take on this? How do you think they need to come together, consolidate themselves, and become the strong opposition party we expect them to be?
The estimation of PDP started in 2013, and the final nail was laid in 2014. And so if people are just looking at the problem of PDP today, the problem started with the Butch Governors Forum election, and the Governors Forum have not recovered from that. You recall when 14 governors defeated them, 17 governors to emerge. That was the beginning of the fall of PDP, and then coupled with the fact that 7 of PDP governors went and merged with the opposition to form the APC in 2014. So the problem did not start today. And fast forward to 2023, and then the presidential primaries in PDP, and then talk about the 5 governors, our 5 governors on the platform of PDP, openly canvassed against the presidential candidate of their party. So if you are, and then there was no sanction against Wiki, Makinde, Autumn, the governor of Anambra State, Buruburu, I remember his name now, and then the governor of Abia State. So these people are junketing all over the world, wearing Ashwebi and the rest of it, and they were in PDP, and then they work tirelessly against their party. And then at the end of the day, after that drama, and then you had APC winning at the national level, and then you had Wiki joining APC government, and Wiki is in an APC government. He still has control over PDP's affair. You can't be master of a dog cannot watch over 2 houses. It's that is the moment Wiki joins the government, what the party should have done is to have relieved him of every opportunity, every rights and privileges that is accrued to him as a party member. When the party is having meeting, he shouldn't attend. Why should he? He will be a 5th columnist in their midst. And then the crisis is also tied to the presidential ambition. The presidential ambition of, don't forget, the presidential ambition of Jonathan, his 2nd term re-election put the party in disarray. Articles on in 2023 put the party in disarray. And moving forward in 2027, I can tell you for a fact that, don't forget, the governor of Bala Mohammed collected the form for gubernatorial election and the form for presidential election in 2023. So he has presidential ambition. Wiki has presidential ambition. Kema Kinde has presidential ambition. So in that case, how do you think the center can hold within that party? As far as I'm concerned, PDP is dead. It's completely dead. And don't also forget that as far as those that are in ruling party are concerned, they will not pray for the opposition to be in good order. So basically, you saw the crisis that bedeviled the Labour Party shortly after the election. Every of the opposition party is having crisis. Is there a grand scheme or a grand plan by 5th columnists being planted in this party? It's left for this opposition for them to look within their party and to ensure that they do the right thing. That was the scheme that was done in 2003. Don't forget, the national chairman and the leaders of APP, Waziri Mohammed, and then Tibola Igi of AD, 2 prominent people from these 2 parties were made to be part and parcel of Obasanjo's administration. What happened to APP? By 2007, they had to rebrand the party to be ANPP. What happened to AD? Where is AD today? In actual sense, all the 3 parties that started this democratic project, they're almost dead. APP is no longer in existence. AD is no longer in existence. And then PDP death knell has already been written since 2013, 2014. So we are just waiting for the burial of that party because that party is dead.
Well, I hope they just put their house in order and consolidate themselves, because we want a situation whereby there are checks and balances to the current administration, and you can't be in one party and you're still frolicking with another, because, of course, what Wike is doing is anti-party movement, if I can call it that. But I just hope that the PDP, they know what they're doing and they put their house in order. Okay, let's move over to another story on The Punch, which is also on the Daily Trust. So it says domestic shortfall, NNPC marketers import 633 million liters of fuel. And on the Daily Trust, he's talking about low crude supply Mars Naira for crude scheme. So Dangote gets 61,219 barrels per day for March, as against 380,000 barrels per day mandate. So, of course, we're not getting enough crude, and now marketers obviously and NNPC are having to import about 633 million liters of fuel. Why do you think that we don't know how much as of today? We still do not know how much of crude that, we get as a nation, how much of crude we produce as a nation. We still do not know that. And if we already have a mandate, because even being in the OPEC, for you to have your OPEC quota, you must meet that quota. So right now, if we're having this low supply, what does that mean for us? What's going to happen? Because clearly we're having to even import. Even Dangote, that is a local refinery, cannot get enough to just ensure that it refines for Nigeria. The marketers and the NNPC will have to import this fuel for Nigerians. What's your take on this, please?
As far as I'm concerned, this is my thought. I might be wrong. Do you think those that are benefiting from the previous system want this current system to thrive? You saw what happened. They does that little intervention. You saw how the price of petroleum product was responding to market, even though the changes in the price were minimal. But don't forget, you look at this in terms of volume, whether it's 10 naira, it's 20 naira, it's 15 naira, what have you. At the point we had it 920, 950, 990, and then we are buying at ahead of 1,000 naira. So those that were benefiting from the previous system, do you think that they want this present system to continue? The question is, and which you have asked, which is a rhetorical question, why can't we have a daily publication of the number of crude oils, the amount of crude oils we pumped out in a day? Why do we have to import? Who is paying for that import? Where is the money coming from? And where do they get the foreign exchange to get this particular import? We are told that, okay, Warri Refinery has come on board, Port Harcourt Refinery has come on board, and then you have Dangote Refinery, and then all of a sudden, he said we have shortfalls, we have to import 600 plus million of barrels of petroleum products into the country. Look, what the president needs to have done is for him to have had a clean break concerning that sector. He should have retired all the management team of NNPC that he inherited from the previous administration and putting a new management with the French, because it was he himself, nobody forced him. It was he himself that said that subsidy removed. Now you can't have a management that manages subsidy management, and that's a management to manage subsidy removal. It should have been a clean break. And I'm appealing to the president for you to have a clear indication of what is happening in the NPC. You need to retire everyone in the management of the old order. For a new order to take place, there must be a new management. Otherwise, it will still be the same cycle. Nobody has a clear understanding of what is happening in that particular sector. It's frustrating.
Oh, well, it's quite frustrating, to be honest, because we need to know what's going on in Nigeria. It seems like we're just being blindsided all the time. Anywho, this is where we have to wrap it up on this segment of the program. Thank you so much, Jide, for coming. It's always a pleasure reviewing the papers with you. Thank you for your time.
Namaste. Thank you very much, Rume. Thank you to everybody.
Yes, sir. Have a wonderful day. We've been speaking with Jide Johnson as a public affairs analyst, and we've just been looking at the global stories that made it to the front pages of our national dailies this morning. We'll go on a short break now. When we return, we'll be discussing the fact that Maritime University Act is to deepen peace in Niger Delta, says ex-IYC boss. Please stay with us.